What is going on YouTube? Welcome back to another venture with the Bearded Bobber. And if you've seen a couple of my other videos, yeah, I'm wearing the same shirt. I want to talk about my 2022 Indian Chief Darkhorse Project Wildfire. Now, I don't necessarily want to talk about just my bike. What I do want to talk about is, are you looking to customize your new Indian motorcycle? And there's some tips that I want to give you before you do this. Is it doable? Clearly. I did it in this garage. I have a lift and I have some tools. And then I knew the right people to take it to powder coat and paint. Now, that being said, it's not always easy to map out your project, like what you're gonna do, because this is not what I was originally going to do. Things change along the way. So it's best to have the best idea possible at the time. This is getting changed again right now because I didn't do this. Now that I want the pulley powder coated and I want different parts painted, what I had to do is order gaskets and bearings, and so I had to reorder gaskets for the exhaust because the exhaust has to come off and they're a crushed gasket. So I don't want any exhaust leaks, reusing the ones that crushed before. So that being said, I have a gasket for here, I have another ring just in case, and I have bearings for the wheels. Now, what I want to get into on bearings. So some bearings are on back order. Sometimes you have to have them custom made from other bearing shops to match the ones you needed. A big issue that we had while working on this was bearings for the triple tree. Now, and inside the frame. It was on back order from Indian Motorcycle. We actually had to reach out and find it from somebody else. So they have bearing kits and things like that. It's not the end of the world, but when you're trying to do this stuff and then you're like waiting to put it together because of bearings, it gets very like in your head. Like, I was waiting on the paint, but now I'm waiting on bearings. Like, I understand waiting on paint. I don't understand waiting on bearings because I didn't think ahead to make sure to order them, to have them there when everything was done and ready to go back together. So if you, let's say you're doing a Chief, I'm going to give you a basic idea on the Chief. Some new models do this as well. On their speed sensors are in the bearings themselves on one side for ABS, speed sensor, things of those natures. So I don't really have like a top 5 things you need to know. Number one thing you need to know though is the bearings, and the bearings can be on back order. I do not have a speedometer right now because these bearings, to get it to the show, we had to put it together and we used the bearings that we had. So they're the same bearings as like they used to use on like the bobber, but the new ones have something in them that the sensor reads on speed and things they need for the ABS module. Now, it hasn't done any real damage to anything, but it definitely makes the bike not know what's going on. And the bike is very smart, probably smarter than it should be on like trying to tell you, hey, your fuel, it thinks, oh, my mile per gallon is 23 because it was at one number. And it's like, hey, you're running out of fuel, but you're not going anywhere. So those are all things that I have to deal with. It's safer, it's better to do that. That being said, not even just having those right bearings for the speed sensors on, like, I believe it's Pursuits, Chieftains, Chiefs, all the bigger bikes. I don't know if the Scouts are doing it now. I'm going to find that out. Like, I'll have to go to the dealer to find out, so I won't be able to tell you in this video. Things like that, you want to know ahead of time. What is this going to do? What is that going to do? Finding the right powder coat. My powder coat place, thankfully, is really good to me. And even the best powder coat can, like, the tape can mess up or something can get in there, and like you get a little piece where there's tiny little scratches on your forks that you may not want. Now I'm covering this up and there's like a couple little scuffs right here. I can clean this and metal polish it anyway. Also rethinking these, thinking this, knowing that if you take this apart, your brake system, that you need to flush your ABS module correctly, and if you don't, you could fry the ABS system. And you do not want that, because I don't know how much that part costs. I don't know how much the labor would cost, because I sure the hell don't know how to fix it, and I sure don't want to, because I'm sure there's some kind of programming or some other thing that you need to know. Also, if you're going to be doing a full tear down, Find a way, a system that works for you on keeping your bolts and everything separated, organized, things like that. I think that's a huge help. For me, I did bags. I know Brandon Picasso does like tape. You can watch his videos as well. He talks about that, and having a system of like where to put them so other things are not getting in the way. When this bike went to the one Moto show, it didn't actually have the sissy bar on, because when I took things to powder coat the last time, I had it back within 2 weeks. This time I didn't get my stuff back, and this was part of it. I wanted this to be red and not black because I didn't want this black clashing with the red here. The red's different, but it's better than if this was black, in my opinion. So this time, powder, you can't always count on things to be done quickly and things like that, so I had to leave that off. You can plan ahead on different bolts and different things like that. All that stuff's going to be a huge help. I checked my phone real quick because I had notes last night, and I was trying to think, like, I felt like I was rambling, but I wasn't. I was right on it with time. So not just like, okay, powder coat this time is going to take longer than last time. Things happen. Sometimes powder coat doesn't go right, and they want to make sure it's right, and they start over, or you're shit out of luck, and other people got there before you. First come, first serve. They have a list of things to get done. Oh, your color's not going to be that important. They have other ones in the basket. Sometimes you jump in and another person has the same color and you get lucky. Things with paint, you have to be patient with the paint. This has to, like, we got this done a little rushed for Portland. It's going back to paint now, and there's little minor imperfections, and we knew that. So going in, this will be the final paint job. You have to be patient and you have to wait. It's got 30 days to cure with all this clear, and you want it done right. So there's different things. Yeah, you can get away with it, but do you want to get away with it, or do you want to have a beautiful project? Things that have to come off, like I was talking about on the other side, is going to be the exhaust. I didn't plan ahead and paint the piece that's underneath the exhaust that I want to paint for the gear cover. So now I have to take the exhaust off again, redo those gaskets, and once everything's back, I can't. So I have to store my exhaust somewhere. That was leading to me, and I'm getting ahead of myself. This is coming off. We have a gasket to replace this gasket to make sure everything's safe once we put it back together. I have new gaskets for the exhaust, and I have them here ready. I have a new pulley a new bearing for the pulley, because I didn't powder coat the pulley the first time. So that's something that's got to go and get a new bearing and everything like that. So all that being said, I have to be able to store this. I have to be able to store the exhaust, that it's not going to get damaged, scratched, or anything like that while this bike is sitting waiting for paint, because paint's going to be a couple months. Those things are things you should think about ahead of time. Some parts I ordered in February. I have new bars coming. I have a new fairing piece that just got here yesterday. I ordered it in February. We're still waiting on one piece that needs to go to powder coat. So having your stuff together, the biggest key takeaways is storage, prepping, and knowing where things are going to go when it gets back together. Those are things to think about the best you can. The smaller space you have, the harder that's going to be. I want more space, but I don't have it, so I'm working with what I have. And I didn't know I could do it, and I did it. Get tons of photos, get tons of video in those spots. Like, oh, this piece came off. What's it look like with that off? Okay, that next piece is off. What's it look like when that comes off? Sometimes, thankfully, with bikes like this, the cords only go to one spot. You know, they can't, like, oh, whoop, I plugged it into the wrong thing. That doesn't happen. They don't set it up that way. Sometimes bolts are longer or shorter in some spots and fit in other spots. So that's stuff to think about. All this stuff, under here is a giant maze jungle that if you don't have it dialed in, it's gonna take you a while to get it dialed in. So having tons of photos and videos layer by layer by layer, tape off like certain wires and try to get everything looking back the way it did when you took it apart. That's the way I like to do stuff, or better. That's the way it was, or better is the best, I think, mindset to have in this kind of situation. And hopefully you'll be happy with it in the end. It won't stress you out too much. These are things I think can help you, like, just let's say you don't want to do what I did, but you want to do just your wheels. If you just want to do your wheels, take away from this conversation that you're going to want your bearings ahead of time before you do it. Be prepared when you make a video also that your GoPro might die and your other GoPro battery is dead because you just got back from a long trip where you were trying to use it the whole time. I was wrapping up this video. For me, I absolutely loved working on this bike. I hated waiting. And something to take away from this is just be ready. If you're going to do something like this, be ready to wait. Like I said, I think some of you might just want to powder coat your wheels or just change something like that or just get new wheels. Remember, your speed sensor's in your bearings. Take that away from this entire conversation. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Hopefully more people are out there building. Like, build the thing. Like, make it yours. Do your thing. Like, we're here for it. And if you are, I want to hear about it in the comments. So, everybody, stay safe, stay classy, stay patient.